What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Mr. Clock After Dark. Today, I have on the one and only Martin Malone. Martin Malone is also known as the teacher's personal trainer on Instagram. And throughout our conversation here today, he shares his story of leaving teaching to become an online personal trainer, focused specifically on training teachers. Martin and I discuss the challenges faced in the profession, emotional fatigue, and its impacts on the teacher's ability to maintain a fitness routine, how to create a structured routine as a teacher. I know specifically we go into like what you should do as soon as you get home, which I thought was very helpful even for myself. The barriers teachers face in starting and sticking to a workout regimen. And then Martin also provides some practical advice for overcoming these challenges. We also discuss the importance of support in achieving fitness goals, the cultural aspects of food and exercise within the profession, as well as me laughing at my classic pretzels and hummus that I eat every day for the last 6 months, as well as the balance of caffeine and alcohol consumption for overall well-being. Mr. Clark After Dark is also brought to you by Luxy. That's Luxy. Luxy sets the standard for modern dating that allows you to be truly aware of the intentions and background of any potential match. Swiping through different dating apps can be tiring. You can leave with a constant feeling of disappointment after seeing the leftovers in your dating pool. With Luxy, an exclusive platform for those with high standards and boasts only a 10 to 15% acceptance rate, as well as a distinctive income verification feature if you choose to use it. You can end your search for the right dating app and start focusing on finding the right person for you instead. Download the app today to see if you qualify for a better chance at finding your person. And now, hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, Martin Malone, the teacher savior. Thank you for coming on today, sir.
Thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to it.
It's a pleasure, man. So I guess without maybe stretching it out too much, like how do you go from teaching to being this kind of online personality about specifically training teachers in the gym?
Do you know what? I always think it's funny. I'm a very big believer in like fate and like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And kind of it all happened by accident. Like there was no big thought out plan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to do. And I think that's probably why it's been such a success, because it's been so natural. So I shared the story quite recently on my Instagram, but like the first school I went to, like I was quite lucky during my training. I was in all amazing schools and everything was brilliant. And I think it gave me this false idea that like every school is brilliant, because I'd been in so many, they'd all been fine. The first job I got was a nightmare, like to the level of like 3 weeks I lasted before I handed in my notice and was like,
wow,
I can't do this. And I won't go into like math detail in it, otherwise
but I guess like how did you go from this is the dream, like I'm gonna have this crazy life, it's gonna be awesome, to absolutely not? Like what was the main thing, I guess you would say?
The head, so like the principal, like the leader of the school, they were a nightmare. They were a nightmare. Like to give you an insight, it shows how naive I was at like 22 starting. I joined a brand new set of teachers. So he got hired the year before, and that year, all the teachers in the school left. And he hired all like newly qualified teachers.
Yeah.
I was the last one to be hired, and I was remembering the interview them saying, "You got any questions?" And I said, "Oh, just one. Like it's quite unusual that like, you know,
everyone leaves.
Everyone leaving. Why is it?" And he goes, "Oh, you know, some are going on to better things. Some want to work closer to home." So it's just all
better things is crazy.
I was like,
people are going to better places.
I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, so 3 weeks, and I'd never, I'd say, been massively into my fitness at the time, but I'd kind of like, I had a little bit of weight on me at school. I'd lost it at uni, kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
But those 3 weeks scarred me so much that like the next year was kind of like eat the layer, where I looked and I was like 3 stone overweight. Like I'd put on a load of weight just through like going PTSD from that school. Like my brain had gone to nuts. So I got a coach. I got that to work with them so that I could do it all properly and learn how to do it all. And then over the years, I was like, I want to learn more about this. So I did a personal trainer qualification. For that, I had to train some other people. I just used some of the teachers who I knew from like my uni course.
Yeah.
That they got good results. All of a sudden, their mates are asking in their school, and then it grew into this thing where, like, 2 years, like year, 2 years down the line, I was going, like,
Yeah.
this could be something.
Especially where you're familiar with like the background, like you're also a teacher. You kind of like you're not just like super random jack person at gym that's just waiting for you to come in. You're just there every day pumping iron for 9 hours. So it's like, okay, like, this guy was a teacher. He kind of gets it. Like he understands the reality of it.
Oh, 100%. I just remember when I first made the transition, I went, okay, well, it was just before COVID. So I was doing more one-to-one than online, like doing it in person, in a gym. And I built up like to about 45, 50 hours in the gym. Like, so I was doing well there.
Yeah.
But I always remember one of the other PTs coming up to me and saying, I don't know how you do it. And I was like, do what? And he was like, work so many hours. And I was like, 45 hours? Like, it's a holiday compared to teaching.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well,
I can't even don't do anything else.
Oh, no. Yeah. And that's like, so I guess in kind of so a couple things, actually. So to start off, it usually takes a few years to break down a teacher's will. So I'm curious, like what was I feel like we're all very idealistic going into our first gig. Like, if you don't mind sharing, and I don't want to like you to trip yourself up or anything here, but like in those, like, was anything specific said to you that just like sticks in your brain? I was like, what where is this coming from?
I think the very first one where, like, there was quite a lot, like, I had something like five lesson observations in the first week. Sorry, in the first 3 weeks. We had 2 book scrutinies, which was funny because he ordered these special books with the school's logo on, and they didn't come till a week and a half in. And he was still, in 3 weeks, the books weren't there for a week and a half, and we still had 2 book scrutinies, like, for a week and a half's work.
So what is a book scrutiny?
So
like an analysis kind of thing?
Yeah, so they'll take the books and they'll look and make sure that the kids' work is up to standard. So they will go but more than just like the work they're doing. So like as well, it will be, are they putting the date in the right place? Are they underlining it? Are they keeping the book to the correct standard? And it was like 5 lesson observations, 2 like book scrutinies where they're diving into it in the first 3 weeks. Like, which is insane.
Like, I don't even know these kids yet, like, let alone trying to evaluate me on 5 different things. That's kind of wild.
But yeah, but the one which I always remember, the first one where I was like, I've made a mistake here, was brand new set of teachers, and we're all sitting there, and we had to go in the day before school started for like a meeting. And I don't know whether you have them over there, but we have like teaching assistants. So we have someone who'll be in the classroom, TA. And so it was only the teachers in, and he went on about 5-minute monologue about how he thought teaching assistants were paid too much. Now, I don't know what they're paid where you are, but they are not paid hardly anything here. Like, they're massively underpaid. But he went on a rant about how they're paid too much, how in the borough we were in, they had a really good union, so they always got a good pay rise, which was like 1%, so it wasn't a good pay rise. He was like explaining how he thought like it was disgusting, and we're newly qualified teachers, some of us, and some of them, and this is his words, some of them who are only TAs will be getting more than you, and I think that's disgusting, and if I could, I'd get rid of them. And I was sitting there, and then he said, what you need to remember is it's us versus them. And I thought, what is going on?
Just the staff meeting battle cry.
Yeah, it was like, we've got to stick together. We've got to do this. And when I look back on it later on, I was like, the reason he didn't like the TAs was because they were all there before him. They were settled. And we're kind of like, I think for teachers, you can travel quite far.
Yeah.
A TA won't. It'll normally be like, I don't know what it's like where you are, but in Britain, it will normally be like, say, like a mum of someone or someone who lives in the local area who, like, it's an easy job for them to like get to. And
you can get into the school for a decent job, union, like protection. Yep.
They've been there like 10, 15 years. They're not going to just go because they know they can outlast him and stuff like that. So I think he was quite threatened by them. So he wanted like this brand new wave of teachers in. And he was like, right, it used to be all the teachers and TAs against me because he was like not far off the devil. Or like, I think it was like, well, I can get all these teachers. And then I've got backing. But like after a week, I think everyone was like, oh my God, like he's awful.
Now we know why people are off to better things. It's not hard to understand, clearly. So as you kind of get into that change, like your personal training, you kind of click like, oh, maybe I can actually work with teachers a bit more on like a niche level. I kind of don't really like that word because I feel like it's overused, but that's exactly what you're doing. Like you're kind of in that lane. So what do you find is the most difficult part for teachers specifically to stick to a kind of typical workout routine? Like what are the barriers that are kind of in the way?
Yeah, I think the biggest barrier with a teacher is actually getting started. So like there's that stat, isn't there? Like teachers make 1,500 decisions every day, more than a brain surgeon. It's more than anyone else, and it's massively draining. So if you can't do it on autopilot at night, you're probably not going to do it. Do you know? You're probably going to you're not going to track your food. You're not going to like go to the gym and try and figure out a routine, especially when it's super busy at that time. You're not going to do all these things. And that to me is the hardest bit. It's like taking that overwhelm away. Like it's going, okay, let's do this where it's going to be easy for you and take away that like thought process, because teachers are already thinking too much. They don't need that like extra brain power going into it, because that's when it all falls apart.
It's almost like you're that veteran teacher giving the new teacher like a resource and be like, just use this for a bit. And then like, that's so comforting to us of like, yes, thank you. I can do this. I can follow this plan. That's like what I'm ingrained to do.
That's it.
Yeah. And so I find one of the things you talk about is, so I guess like for me kind of being interested, especially in talking to you today, it's like research is me search, because I've kind of had my waves of like fitness and stuff over the years and was like super into it in university. And as I kept going through, I go through like obsessive phases. I'm like, oh, I want to bench 225 again. And then I'm like, oh, I want to touch a bench press for 6 months. But then I'm like, oh, I want to run a marathon. So I'll do that for a year. And then I do it. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't run for 6 months. It's like a very weird cycle. Is that like a common pattern you see with teachers? Or is that just me being weird?
No, I think it's definitely a common pattern, because again, with teaching, we are very like goal driven, I would say.
Yes.
And we're very as well. Like, I don't think like any other job, you could just kind of do that job and probably just go through life, and then you get to Christmas and you're like, oh, it's nearly Christmas. And then we're in teaching it, it's so like, right, we do this area, and then we have a little break, and then we do this bit, and then we have a little break. So you can almost map it out more. So that's where I think that comes into it a lot with lots of teachers, where it's like, right, I want to do this thing and I will do it by then. And you can almost like break it down and plan it, like talk about a marathon run, can't you? Like, right, I want to be running this by then, and then I want to be running this and then that. And then once it's done, you go, right, well, that's done.
It's almost weirdly daunting to kind of have every minute of your week planned.
Yeah.
Like when you have it done, you're like, okay, I just have to kind of go through the emotions, and then Christmas break will be here, because that's like what we have this week coming up. It's our last one before we go into it. And I guess we're kind of going along this thread here, but we talk about the just volume of decisions and time that goes into just trying to be an effective teacher. You can put in all those hours and still not be effective. That's probably the even more discouraging part. And that's something I've definitely experienced. Like, you don't even know what you're achieving some of the time. But I guess how has now that you're kind of out of teaching, how has your perspective on the burnout teacher space changed? Like, I guess like that's a common buzzword, and it's obvious to me that if you're going through a 6-month period of teaching and you're not working out, you're going to feel better if you are working out. Like that's a simple change, right? But I guess what do your kind of teachers that are still working out all the time kind of still struggling with? Like what are you still kind of seeing?
Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is when it comes to it, knowing that like with teaching, it's very like the two biggest problems. It's very people pleasing. Like that's why most teachers get in the job. We want to be people pleasers, and
we're agreeable people. We're like, let's do it.
There's nothing wrong with it, but it's almost recognizing it and going, I know I'm a people pleaser, so I need to put boundaries in to stop myself from becoming overworked. I think that's one big aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it with teaching, which is, I always think it's ironic because it's probably it's one of the only jobs where there's no way you could do it, but they want everything to be perfect. And that transfers to like day-to-day life as well. Like I ate a chocolate bar today, so that means the diet's ruined. And
so that means I hate myself now. Everything is ruined.
Yeah, I will get a takeaway every single night. And you're like, no, you don't. Like, the chocolate bar wasn't the problem. Like, 200 calories, it's not that big of a deal. No, I ate a chocolate bar. You're still in the calories? Yeah, but I ate a chocolate bar. And you're like, no, it's fine. And I think that's the big thing whenever I work with someone. It's that chatting and talking. Like, even though we do a weekly check-in, I will chat to most people most days, either whether they're celebrating wins with me or they're just like, and stuff off the chest, whether that's to do with the food, training, or even school. Because I think up in our heads, we're our own worst enemy. We're our own worst enemy. 80% of our thoughts are negative. And again, that's not a bad thing. Like, negative thoughts can actually be quite, like, useful. It's just no one really talks about, like, if you didn't have negative thoughts in your head, you would walk outside, you'd walk straight into the road, and you'd get run over. Or it says, don't walk out in the road, that car will run you over. You know, in the wild, don't eat those berries, they will poison you. Do you know, there's all those things.
No, I'm just gonna do it.
So the negative thoughts, it's about like getting the thoughts sometimes out of your head. And the best way to do that is to talk. Like, and I always find the teachers I work with, quite a lot of the times, they'll tell me about a problem or something that's going on in their head. And by the time they've sent me the voice note or text, they'll send me a message after it going, actually, just even saying that out loud, like, I don't need to worry about that. You know, and it's those little things. And that's what I think is big in teaching. Like, day to day, actually, when you think about fitness and training, teachers should be the most successful people at it because the two big things are prep and stuff and plans. That's all you have to do. And teaching is one of the only jobs where, like, you have to do that. Most people just rock up at their job and go, okay, what have we got to do today? We got to do this. Teaching is like, right, let's sit down this weekend and think, right, am I doing this? Am I doing that? Am I doing that? Right. Just do it with your food and training. That's the easy part. The hard part is then something will happen during the week, which means you couldn't go on Tuesday. And the simple answer is, okay, well, can I go Wednesday? Yeah. But people get into their head, well, I feel like a complete failure because I haven't gone on the day I said I was going to, and then it spirals.
And I feel like you're actually like finalizing my internal dialogue right now because like I'll like full disclosure, like I just moved here and like I finally have my wife and I have our first home and I got a squat rack in my garage. Like everything is in there for me, but I'm like, I'll work out tonight and I don't. I'm like, okay, now I hate myself. Everything's ruined. Like I'll never work out again. So it's like, and I think because we have to prep and plan for every day. So like the one day you don't do it. It's like that. It's also like now we're not just a failure of being fit. We're just a failure as an employee because I didn't do the thing I planned to do. It's almost like this weird full on self attack, which is very strange.
100%. And that's why I think like just chatting and talking is the biggest one. Because the minute you'd say that out loud, as you said, you say, strange, doesn't mean anything, you know, but we just build it all up in our head. And like a perfect example of it I always remember is when I was teaching, we always like, after the nightmare school, found the school absolutely loved to stay there for like a decade. And I was just in that school. But one thing was we would have a staff meeting on a Monday and it was always meant to go till 4:30, but it finished at 4:30. It was always like 5, 5:30, which then meant I would get caught on the traffic on the way home. So where I would normally get in for like 5 o'clock at the latest, I was getting in on a Monday for like 7 o'clock. So couldn't go to the gym because I'd lost like 3 hours where I normally get ready. And then I feel like a bit of a failure and it'd spiral and stuff like that. And I just thought one day, why don't I just not go to the gym on a Monday? Why don't I just and like I will go on Tuesday? And I used to tell myself instead, I'd like to train Monday to Friday and I take the weekend to like rest. I went to like, right, I will either train on a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on what I've got on, and start my week then. And then I'll carry it on. And that to me was like a big one. Like just a little mindset shift of like, this is the way I'm going to plan it. I'm going to keep it around me. And then just having that lenience with it. But that's the biggest one for me. Like in teaching, the food, the training and everything like that isn't a problem. The biggest thing is getting like out of your own head.
Yeah. And actually what you're saying there is, I think it's one of the biggest things that's helped me because, again, I've never gone through teaching myself alone because, like I said, my wife is a teacher. So I've always kind of had that person to bounce things off who understands and is, I know I taught high school, she taught kindergarten. So it's a very different experience, but it's like all the same kind of BS and noise is pretty similar. But I do like what you're saying that I would actually go into my calendar because I'm a planner and I would plan my time off. Yeah. That would be like, okay, it's like, okay, if I work out this night 4 to 5, like I'm going to do nothing this evening. Like that was almost a weird thing. It's like, I'm going to give myself permission to just watch Netflix for 3 hours after my workout on this day and eat supper. House is clean. Things are planned. It's fine. I don't have to sit and stew and kind of have that like chaos in my mind, which I think is an underrated like burnout factor, because like you can always be honing things in your head of the next day or like, oh, what can I do different in the evening that workout before? It's like, you know what, this is brain shut off time. That's okay. I'm going to vegetate a little bit.
100%. It's so powerful. And I think what like a big thing in teaching to hit on there is like, let's be honest, like teaching is super tiring and it takes a lot of energy. Physical though, is it? Like
it's just all tiring. Up there.
Yeah, it's emotional, it's stimulating rest we need, it's like, it's mental fatigue that we get, it's all the other types of it. So when you actually think about it, you going to go to bed early is not going to do anything because you aren't actually physically tired. You need to sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you need to go and train in the gym, you need to have some complete shut off from your phone and maybe read a book, because all these things are actually restoring your energy. And that's the big thing where you're taking that time, switching off and saying, I'm not doing anything tonight. You're giving yourself that permission to like restore it back.
Yeah. And I noticed something you posted recently. It was like, I just get home and flop. Like, why is that to me? Probably like I have a different role this year where I'm like kind of in a resource support role. So it's not as demanding from like a day-to-day class perspective. And I'll be honest, my brain feels completely different. Like I'm just not in that same like chaotic routine. Like I have a bit more flexibility and freedom with the way I can schedule myself, which is awesome. Still not working out all the time though. But even so, I'm a huge believer, and I'm going to give some bro psychology here of like the mirror neurons. Like your mood is influenced based off like the energy that you're getting from the people you're talking to. I don't know how, like, I remember I read that term like Bessel von Kolk's book of The Body Keeps the Score. So I'm not just making things up, but it's like sometimes, for example, like my wife will get home and she's in a great mood, but I'm not in a great mood.
Yeah.
Like, and like our moods will balance out. So it's almost like when you're kind of working with exhausted, burnt out people all the time, like that's going to have another kind of compounding effect on that. But I guess that to me kind of helps explain, like when you get home, just the brain shut off time. It's like you're recalibrating. But I guess, how did you experience that flop time? And like, how do you factor that into discussing that with your clients? Like, what should you do the second your bag hits the ground when you get home?
So for me, it was all about kind of being really disciplined for the very first like 2 minutes. So I'm a very big believer in keeping things as routine as possible after school. And a big one with it is like even my lunches. So I ate the same thing for lunch while I was in school for like 9 years. Chicken, sweet potato and veg. And you know what? It wasn't that like, oh, it's my favorite meal. It was super simple to make. I enjoyed it, and there was nothing I could make which would give me like more like pleasure in school. You're like, oh, this is amazing, because it's just some food that you need.
Yeah.
So, but what that did is that gave me the ability to have a real big routine when I'd come in. I'd literally come in, I would get the chicken, the sweet potato, and the frozen veg. I'd put it in the glass bowl, put it in the oven. I knew that I'd take like 35, 40 minutes. I'd go upstairs, I'd get changed, I'd pack my gym bag, I'd pack my bag for school the next day, I'd get changed into my gym clothes, I'd come downstairs, put the lead on the dog, we go out for a walk so that I could clear my head, come back, take it out, put it all prepped, ready, and then it was, as I say, I was getting into 5, by 20 to 6, like it was done. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, bang. And then all of a sudden, I would actually feel so much energy where I was tired because, one, got rid of like 90% of what I had to do for the next day.
Yeah.
School stuff, like my clothes for school the next day were out, like my gym clothes for the next day were out, bag was packed, my gym bag was ready to go with my shake made and everything like that. Everything was done. I'd walked the dog, I'd cleared my head, it felt good because I was back out in the fresh air. Come, my lunch was done, everything like that. And I felt super energized from it again.
Mm-hmm.
And then wouldn't feel like a chore going to the gym. I also made sure that I went to the gym with someone. So whether that was a friend or a family member or anything like that, I'd go to the gym with someone so that I kept that. I think I still would have went by myself, and I don't think it's a problem if you go by yourself. But for me, it was that thing of like, I had spent from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m. just talking to 8-year-olds. Just talking to 8-year-olds. So it was also like I was getting to chat with someone that I wanted to talk to.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. You're also like debriefing.
Yeah, just where you can just relax. And that to me was really powerful that way. And I think that's the thing. You can set yourself up because our brains are great at convincing us to do the things which aren't going to help us. You know, after breathing, like taking in air, probably the best thing we can do is drink water. Yeah, it's so easy to forget to drink water.
All the time, still. For
Do you
me,
know
I don't
what
understand.
You've got to remind yourself to do it. Your brain will tell you, oh, you're really tired, just lie on the couch. You will lie on the couch for an hour, you will feel awful after it, and then you'll feel
like shit.
You haven't got anything done. Where you
I was going to say,
in it and go, no, like, I'm doing this. It was a struggle every single day for that 1 minute. And then the minute I started, I was like, I feel better already. The fact that like I've started.
Yeah, I was going to say, nothing you're saying involves sitting on your couch and dissociating for 45 minutes. So that's a very, very different from kind of the classic routine I get myself into. Like, I find, because the way my school kind of works now, our like contract time involves like about 45 minutes on either end of the bells. We have like a slow start, and like we, like our bell, for example, like our bell will end at 2:45 and the day ends at 3:30. So that's like by the time that so it's kind of actually nice to have like morning and afternoon time built into your day already, like time that you can prepare stuff.
So it's like,
no, so that's like, so like we're 8 to 3:30 is our contract time. 8:45 to 2:45 is like the time that they're in class. Okay. So it's a nice like extra hour and a half of time you have to be there. It's not really like a prep because this day hasn't started or anything, but it's also time you are there doing things. But so I'll get home like 4:30, 4:15 usually on like the average day because I have a bit of a commute. But like the second I get home, I'm like, no, I just gotta sit. Even though I just drove for a half an hour to get home, I'm like, I'm gonna sit down again when I get home. Like, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why am I doing that to myself? So I feel like, it's the freedom always lies in the work that you're unwilling to do. So by the time you actually do it, you actually feel much better.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So what would you say is the common thread that your unsuccessful clients have in common?
Unsuccessful?
Yeah, meaning like they'll work with you, maybe they try it. Because I think some of the things you're saying is like, and some of the teachers that I know of that stick with the fitness routine, it's usually some sort of community thing. Yeah. Like they'll go out to spin class together, or they'll go out to like a CrossFit gym with like 7 or 8 of their friends. And I do feel like women are more inclined to do that. I think men are almost like, no, I'm going to work up by myself because I need to like look, I don't know, like be tough. I don't know what it is, but that's something I've noticed. So I guess like, what are some of the, I guess, most challenging maybe clients you've had of like the themes that make them unsuccessful, if nothing else that we've discussed already, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest one, funny enough, we have discussed it like on the opposite way, I'd say. Biggest one
Yeah.
for me, the biggest success when people are successful, it's linked to how much we talk. And that's the biggest one with it, because I'm a big believer, especially these days with all the AI and stuff like that. You don't need someone to make you a gym plan. You don't need
Yeah.
someone to explain how exercise works. You don't
That's
need
true. I never
someone
thought
to
about that.
explain your food or what calories you should be on. But you need someone to help you, like, actually get out of your own head and make it easy for you so that you don't have to think about it. And the biggest thing for me is when we start, they get set up and, I do all that stuff for them and get it planned out, like, right, this is what you're going to do, and talk that way. But then they have me on WhatsApp and then we message as much as they want. And it's that thing about the more they're chatting, the more they're talking, the better results they get. The ones who are reflecting every day, the ones who are, like I'm talking about there, what I used to do, there's a lot of my clients who will send me a picture every single night of their supplements and their lunch for the next day. They will just send it just for that little bit of accountability. I'll
Yep.
have a message like, hey, you need to send me this picture.
Yes.
Because it would be so stressful to have someone
Yeah, it's like, oh, shit. Well, it makes it work, right?
Yeah, but they will send the pictures to me like, 10 days in a row I've done this, 11 days, like, and it's that side. Like, so to me, I have people sometimes who sign up and apart from a check-in, like, I don't hear from them. And even though they'll still get all right results, they don't get those saying like next level results you want, because it's the chatting all the time. It's the biggest one. Like, the more we're chatting, the more we're talking.
Well, it's almost like you texting them back is also like, oh, at the end of the day, you see a text and you're like, oh, that's my gym reminder almost. It's not like you're saying go work out. It's like, okay, now this is where I start the second part of my day. So I think like you almost need to think of your day as 3 chunks. Like the time you relax, the time you work and plan, the time you work out. Like I think that needs to be the way you like plan your 16 hours of being awake. But again, like it can be daunting to plan every hour of your life. So again, take my or supplemented advice with Grace. But so a couple of things there as well, because even for myself over the years, like I'll notice I kind of fluctuate from like 205, so 205 pounds to like 225. I can kind of go back and forth. It's almost like when the winter comes, I'm almost like you're bogged down with like end of semester. You've got the report cards, you've got the marking. It's like I'm going out because Starbucks has their holiday drinks on. I'm getting my double espresso. That's probably 500 calories. And it's just like, it just starts to add up without you even realizing. And like, I'll look at pictures of even just like a few months before. I'm like, whoa, I did not look great then.
Yeah.
But I do think, like, especially in those crunch times, there's like a lot of peer pressure to let yourself go, if that makes sense. It's almost like, no, we're in this together to like cross the finish line and we're all going to go in this direction where it's like, you're not really allowed to be happy and enjoy yourself. It's like, we need to finish this work together or else you're not being a good enough teacher. So that's more of like a cultural thing. And I guess, how do you help your teachers kind of form those kind of boundaries of independence within like a very collective profession?
Yeah, and I do completely agree. I think in teaching, like, everything is food, isn't it? So if you're having a tough day, so go and bring you a slice of cake from the staff room,
Yeah,
or
it's
like it's just some type of treat.
Yeah.
If you're having a good day, someone will go and get some treats to celebrate.
Yep.
Even like, I don't know whether you used to, but like on a Friday, someone would go out and get food for everyone, like get everyone's orders, like a Fat Friday.
Coffee and donuts is classic.
All these stuff. Like, so it is very food related. And I think, ironically, the best way I found with teachers for them to stop it is to give yourself the permission to have it.
Yeah.
So almost working on that like opposite idea of it.
Yeah.
And it come from me to just kind of be like, we chat about it and we'll talk about it. And I found it works massively well for them. And it used to work massively well for me. Was rather than saying like, you can't have it, tell yourself, do you know what? I can have whatever I want. And with that, it makes you think about it more. And the fact that you give yourself permission to have it means, one, you're not going to completely binge on it. Because like we were talking about the gym, it's like you haven't ruined it by having a donut. But at the same time, if you are planning and structuring your food, we want some treats and that in there. And like when I was teaching, I would always have something to look forward to at night, whether it was like a tub of Halo Top ice cream, like low-calorie ice cream or something to into my calories. And I knew if I had I could have whatever I wanted from the staff room, but if I had that slice of cake, probably about the same calories as the tub of ice cream at night. So I couldn't have the ice cream that night. And it wasn't like a punishment, like, oh, you can't have that.
No. It's like, I already had my treat today.
Yeah, so I used to do that. But I never actually had the cake because I'd be having it for sake, but I don't really want it. And
yes.
it's that side of it then. And that to me was big. Like, and it's the same, like everyone moans about how early everything comes out for Christmas these days. Like, I don't know about what it's like over there.
There's always a reason to eat all the time. And that's the part where I'm like, there's always junk food I can eat.
Oh, it's massive. But I find actually, like, so in Britain now, the Christmas stuff started coming out in the shops before Halloween. Like, it's out in all, where I hear people moaning, oh, it's ridiculous that it's out. I actually love that it's out because all these like special Christmas treats, which maybe were only out for December, and you'd be like, I've got to get them now from August. And they'll probably stay there till Feb. And I'm like, well, like, I can have these whenever I want. And then I don't end up having them at all because I have them whenever I want. And it's that thing. And it's the same with everything. Like, we went to Florida earlier this month. Sorry, not this month, earlier this year. We went in like, I think February time. Sorry, March.
Good time to go.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice and quiet and stuff like that. What was really good, again, we had whatever we wanted to eat. We didn't like deny ourselves anything because we went with that thing of like whatever we want. I think I'd come back and I'd lost like in 10 days, I'd lost like 2 pounds because I was having whatever I wanted, but I wasn't binging on anything. Like, rather than going like, oh, I'm going to be super good on this holiday and I'm not going to have this and I'm not going to have that. I was having whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
I actually didn't have like one like pint or a drink or anything while we were away, just for the simple fact like didn't want it.
Yeah, it's like I can drink when I go home. It's like I want to try different foods here. That's a huge thing too. Alcohol is a whole other conversation.
But that's the thing for me. I think when you start to change your mindset with food, and you say I can have this whenever I want, you start actually, rather than going like, oh, I can't have that, and the conversation you had is like, go on, have it. When you've lived it to like, I can have whatever I want, you start going, do I want it? You have to go, no.
Well, I also find when I am in my, like, I guess a good week, like I get 3 or 4 workouts in, and in Canada, like Tim Hortons, we got the Timbits there, you grab one, and then you all of a sudden you've eaten 5, and you're like, whoa, but I find when you're working out, it's like, I'll have 1 or 2. Like, that was good, but I'm good. Like, I almost find that's like a big thing, and I think the sugar and cream in my coffee, like I drink my coffee black now, I think that's taken like like the little things I guess you can kind of do to like, I guess maybe save yourself for the unexpected treats, if that makes sense. That's kind of like what I've tried to do, I guess.
That's it, and it's just balancing it. And it's my biggest one is we want to kind of get to a place where everything's just natural, and you're not thinking it. So taking stuff like you're taking like the creamer and the sugar out of your coffee, and you're not really affected by it. Like, then that's a brilliant one because it's a time.
Well, you're probably saving like 200 calories a day, which is those treats, right? That's kind of the And so a couple more like themes I want to get into, because I think there's an unhealthy, I guess, perception of fitness still with a lot of people, meaning like you think of a gym and all of a sudden you think of like all the high school kids with their low taper fades, which is like a crazy meme nowadays, there's 9 of them around the bench press and everyone's just grunting. And then so it can come across as this like overly masculine, like bro thing that people don't want to do, I guess. how would you respond to someone who says like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym because I don't like the culture or something? Like, what would you say? Like, I think that's silliness, because I think you can just go into your own thing, and it's not as big of an issue as you might think, but it is something I've heard from people before.
Oh, 100%. And I'm a big believer in, I think one of the troubles that people will do is they will pick a gym for convenience rather than the rest of it. So they will just look and go, that gym is close, so I will go to that gym. But actually, you should obviously the distance has got to be in there.
Yeah.
But I travel past 4 gyms to go to the gym that I go to because I like the environment in there. And I've been a part of other gyms which I haven't liked the part of the like environment, and then I haven't went. And I know even there's some, like there's a gym quite close to me, like it's got without doubt the best equipment, not just in our city, probably in the UK. Like he invests a hell of a lot in his equipment. It's really good. It's closer than my gym and everything on paper. I should be going to that gym. I joined that gym and it's a very kind, as you're saying, like masculine, steroid.
Like the roids are flowing. Yeah.
And
needles are in the changer. Like, whoa.
And I've never once in my life thought about going on steroids. I'm very much like, doesn't appeal to me. Doesn't mean I spent about a month in that gym and was kind of like, should no, but more like, should I? And then, I was like, why am I even thinking about that? Like, I've been training for 10 years. I'm pretty strong. And I realized I was in an environment where I'm not bothered about how much I lift and how much someone else lifts.
No. But it's like a weird peer awareness thing.
Yeah. But I knew in that gym, I was having to like take the weights off everything, and I was having to lower everything. And I felt really small in there. And I was like, it's because they're all on steroids. Maybe I should go on steroids. And I thought, no, like I'll just leave and go to a different environment. And that's the big thing for me. I think if you're worried about that if someone's worried about that with the gym, it should be, right, let me look at the gyms in the area and see which one fits me right. Because like there is literally, so I walk to the gym. It's like 3 miles away. It takes me an hour. I love it. I walk to the gym and I walk back. As I say, I walk past 4 gyms. There is actually a gym at the end of my road, which like would take me 5 minutes to walk to. And the reason I don't go to that one is it's small, it's cramped, hasn't got the stuff I need in it. And it's that thing of like, the easy solution would just be for me to join that gym, but then I'd start going less because I get frustrated when I was there because I couldn't do stuff and people would be taking stuff up and everything like that. Or I can go to this other gym, which I like. It's really good. I never have a trouble getting on anything. I know a few people in there to say hello to, and it's a really nice environment. So it's that thing for me. I think a little bit like every school, a little bit like every shopping mall, a little bit like everything. Like
that's true. I didn't think about like what you'd look for in a gym.
And it's going in and looking at them and going, oh yeah, like so many people will sign up to a gym. Like they'll go, right, I'm joining the gym, I'm doing it, I'm joining this one, and they will sign up online before even going in the gym.
Or
why would you do that with?
Yeah, and most gyms have like a 3-day like trial or something. It's usually, if you ask, they'll give you something, even if you don't want to like pay for it. I mean, like obviously you can pay $10 to work out anywhere pretty much, but if you ask like, hey, do you have a week trial? I'm just checking out gyms. They'll usually have coupons you can use for the most part,
and you can just get a feel for it and feel the environment. And that to me is the big one with it. Like finding the right environment just by doing that a little bit of time. If you are going to join a gym to go and train, you're probably going to be at least in there 3 hours a week. I would not be signed up to anywhere to spend 3 hours a week for the rest of my life, because fitness should be one of them. Choose somewhere where I don't like.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big one with it. Like, it's not about the gym culture, but it's finding the right gym culture for you.
But yeah, because I think it's important to remember, most of us, like, we're not stepping on stage tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like we need to compete with Chris Bumstead over who's going to have like the biggest delt. But I do think there needs to be kind of like a common practical element. But it's interesting that as you're talking about that, I'm thinking of gyms that I've been to, and I can totally relate. Of like, oh, like some. I actually remember one time there was a guy, shout out Mackenzie Bourgeot. There was like a little like dungy YMCA that was attached to my old high school that I loved. It was like the old clunky weights, and it was just like a great environment. Then you go to like the big rec center, and everything's like super open and bright, and you're like, I feel insecure here. Like I don't want gym at all, like the lighting's off or something. But I do think just the little things that make you enjoy it or make it not more stressful. Because a lot of people, like if you're like I played sports growing up and stuff, like if you're not an active person and you're like 30 years old and you're like your doctor says, oh, maybe like you're pre-diabetic, I think like things like these can start to creep up. And now you're like, oh, now I have to choose a gym and go to the place I don't want to go to at all. You should at least give a few a shot. And I guess, like you're saying, find a friend to go with you at least sometimes.
Find someone to go with you, build stuff there. But yeah, just finding the right environment as well can just be so key to it.
Yeah, because I think it's hilarious that you're saying this, because I find now that I kind of got the stuff to work out at home.
Yeah,
I don't get as good of workouts in, and I know it's just because I'm by myself and like the AC/DC in my ears can only do so much. Like I do find that energy of like we're all here with a common goal. Something about that does kind of just energize your lifts a bit more. So maybe so I guess that goes to the second part. What are some things that districts and schools can kind of do to assist in these kind of like how important should teacher fitness be from like a district kind of systemic wide perspective?
I think
that's an obvious question, but
I think it should be massive. But again, it shouldn't be like you see it now, like wellness things where people are like, we've put a yoga day on for the teachers, or we've done this, or we've done that, or we've got this. It should just be more about having those talks, having those conversations, having those understandings. You know, in Britain, like I think it's something like 78% of teachers admit to feeling burnt out. Like a massively high number. Most teachers, 4 out of 5 teachers are burnt out. When you are burnt out, you can't think properly. Tasks take longer. Like you end up with insomnia. So you're not well rested. You can't think. Your enthusiasm's gone and everything takes longer. All of those things point to someone being a worse teacher than if they weren't burnt out. Now, that doesn't mean they're still not doing a good job, but they would be able to do a better job if they weren't burnt out. So schools should look at, right, what is the fluff in our school that we can just get rid of? What is the paperwork? What is the admin? What are the stupid little tasks which just take that extra bit, which we can get rid of? How can we help teachers understand little things rather than, I've brought in cakes for morale. It's like, well, if you need to bring in cakes for morale, why don't you look at how to fix the morale?
Yeah. Yes. It's like, why does morale need cakes? That's really what we should be looking at here. Okay, so I just got a couple more things before I let you go here today, but that's hilarious. Like, why do we need cake to feel better? I think that's really the question we should be asking, because I would say for me, the burnout thing is I just lose my creativity. Yeah. Like I find before the semester would start, I was teaching high school social, we can do this project for a week. We'll do that project. Now I'm zipping, I'm going, I'm feeling good. November 18th hits and I'm like I have this worksheet. I have these slides prepared. I'm like, okay, so now we're already gonna kind of go through the motions, and then you got your big final exam. So you're kind of just preparing them for the test for a bit. And so I find to me, I think that's what makes teaching and learning interesting for everyone, is not having a burnt out teacher and actually having the energy. And that's me being younger than most with no children yet of my own. So that's I can only imagine if you're kind of in the later years, you've got 3 kids, one's in uni. It's I get it. Or I don't get it, but I understand why it's I don't know. I've taught this course 19 times. I'm going to do it the same way I did the 13th time. So I can understand that as well. But so when it comes to the nutrition, I think it's hilarious that you said the chicken and sweet potato thing, because I can eat the same lunch for the rest of my life and not actually bother me whatsoever. I would say because my wife and I kind of both face that same teacher grind every day. It's suppers become more simple and takeout becomes a bit more prominent. So it's like sometimes it'll be like a Caesar salad and chicken breast. It's probably something I eat like twice a week. I guess just something, which is probably not good. You got croutons and dressing, but it becomes like you're looking for simple things to eat. And I don't even know if it's a good thing, but I eat like a small thing of pretzels and hummus and a protein shake every day for lunch. Like it's pretty much a snack, but that's like, and then maybe like an apple throughout the day. I know like you hear different perspectives about like people who fast until 5 p.m. and intermittent fasting and all of these things. But like I'll eat eggs for breakfast and I eat pretzels, hummus, and a protein shake for lunch. That's kind of been my main thing to kind of stay regular.
Yeah.
Like, especially for me, I don't mean to rant too much at you here, but
No,
like,
I love it.
when teachers like they'll come in, they have like this massive bowl of pasta at 12 p.m. I'm like, I would be so tired if I ate that right now. Like I do find like my insulin sensitivity or whatever that is. Like if I eat a piece of chocolate at 12, I'm like, I'm done for the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like I will not be able to focus. Like I need some sort of like, not necessarily like clean energy or nutrition, but if I eat shitty food earlier in the day, I feel like crap for whatever reason. So I guess for people who aren't strange like me and actually kind of need some variety, like, no, I can't do this. Like I need a couple of, like, what are your kind of, if you had like 3 go-to lunches and maybe breakfasts that like teachers should kind of eat to get like, even if you're not working out, like to me, I think my perspective would be still eat a protein bar if you can get access to them. They can be expensive, but like Costco and sometimes they'll have them for cheap. Like you should still have a protein shake throughout the day, maybe eat some eggs for breakfast, try to have some sort of lean protein with supper, and you'll probably get your 130 grams, which is probably good enough for most people on average. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that of like kind of changing up the food stuff a little bit for people who are like that?
I think like obviously it's important all the time to like lean into the food you like, and if you like that variety, definitely have it. I am a big believer in people having the same breakfast and the same lunch for at least a week. And the only reason for that is I'm a big believer in, like, as we were talking about, decision making. And if you were trying to figure out how to do your breakfast, say the night before every day, and make your lunch, take like probably an extra half an hour. Where if you just go, right, this is what I'm making this week, bam, 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 sorted. And I think that's the big one for me. It's leaning to the food you like. Breakfast wise, like I'm a big advocate of either having a smoothie, like actually like say get some milk, get some protein powder, get some fruit, put it in so that you're getting the fiber and the micronutrients from the fruit. You get the protein powder to add the protein in. And what I really like about it is you can get it ready the night before and then leave it in the fridge, and then you can just grab it on the way to work, or you can have it in work, because breakfast is I find is one of the toughest things for teachers, because they just want to get up and go.
Yeah, some of them just don't eat. And like my wife has told me she wouldn't eat breakfast because I'll just make like a little keto wrap with some eggs and some Frank's Red Hot sauce. Like it's nothing crazy, but it's again probably 25 grams of protein, 30 grams with like 20 grams, like whatever. I'm kind of doing the mental math of like what I don't actually track my stuff that much. I've never really done that. I don't really know why, but I do think like some teachers will just be like, no, it's 12 and I've only had caffeine today and I feel great, which is whatever. I guess all power to you if you can do that, but I can't do that.
I have to eat the minute I get up. Like I'm starving. Well, that's the thing with me. Like, as I say, if you struggle with breakfast, smoothies can be a great one. If you want something a bit more solid, overnight oats, or you want something quick to cook in the morning, as you said, they're eggs. They're my
that's killer.
Go-tos. And then it's the same for lunch, really. I'm a big believer in getting some sort of carb source in there, because carbs is the energy of the body. Like that's our easiest way to get energy. So whether that's some potato, some sweet potato, some rice, some pasta, something like that with a protein source. So again, whether that's tuna, chicken, eggs, whatever it is. And then again, fill it up with a load of veg so that you've got that micronutrients from it. And I'm a big believer as well in kind of make all your food enjoyable, but make the end of the day like your best meal. Like
that's
the good one, and work your way back, because breakfast, as I say, if you say pick a smoothie, you're nailing a smoothie in the car.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's going to be all right or the best thing ever. Like, you're going to get through it. Lunch, you're just kind of eating something quick before you get back to work. The one at night, you want something which, like, you can enjoy, is easy to make and tasty. And I always think, like, slow cookers are amazing for that.
Yeah, they are.
And I saw something a couple of weeks ago and I was like, wow, that's such a good idea. I can't believe I've never thought of it before. But there was a woman online, you might have seen her. She gets like big Ziploc bags like that. And she puts up at the weekend everything for her slow cookers. So she chops all the veg. Say she's having potatoes in, she puts the potatoes, she puts the chicken in, everything like that. And she just puts them layered, like 5 of them in bags, different ones. And then when she gets up for work, she literally just opens it up, puts it in, puts the boiling water in, puts the stock in that she's going to, puts it on. It takes her 2 seconds. And I'm like, that's such a good way to do it because all the chopping you're doing at once.
Yes, that's true. That's
and
true.
then
All the dishes at once.
Yeah.
Interesting. We do use the slow cooker sometimes, but like, again, it's like full disclosure, my mom was an excellent cook. Like, she cooked all the time. I lived with her when I was in university with both my parents, and like I got and she loved to cook. Like, she's like from Newfoundland, like old fashioned Newfie cook. So all the time she was just making these crazy meals. So I just got used to not cooking that much, if I'm being honest. So now I'm like, there's chicken breast in there. I'll put that in with some rice. Like I can really get away with not
simple like that.
Yeah. Yes. And I guess the other thing that I do that I've learned to do is because sometimes you can eat your breakfast, whatever, but then it's like, okay, now it's 9:15 and you're starving. Like you're kind of in the start of your day, but I drink greens with lemon juice in them throughout the morning. I find that's really helped me like not get hungry throughout the day. Because I know if some people will drink like fat burner and stuff as like a hunger repellent, but this is like another non-caffeinated. Like, I guess if you were to say, like, I would say if I had to take 2 supplements, it would just be protein powder and greens. Like, those are just the 2 things that I'm like, you know what? Like, pre-workout, yeah, you can have a cup of coffee before you work out. Like, different things that I would change. But I guess, how would you respond to that? Like, what are some like the main teacher supplements? Like, don't overthink it with the creatine and the L-carnitine and all these things that you can use. Like, what are your kind of growing corn supplements?
Yeah, funny enough, you mentioned the only one which I recommend to everyone to have is creatine. And that's just simply because it's like, it always makes me laugh with 99% of supplements, like the BCAAs and everything.
Yeah.
When you actually look at the studies of them, like, they don't do that much and they cost a lot of money. Creatine, when it first came out, like way, way back, they had no idea really what it did, but they knew it did something. They thought it just hydrated the muscles. So they were like, let's knock that out.
Like the ATP edition, like I remember,
But as they've done it, they've done more and more tests on it, and it does so much. So obviously it helps your muscles grow because it helps keep them hydrated, which is super important. But as well, one of the biggest muscles we have is our brain. So it helps keep our brain hydrated, which helps our mental health, which makes us feel good. And
interesting,
they've shown with it as well now, like the latest kind of studies have shown, like Alzheimer's, it can't stop Alzheimer's. Like if someone's got Alzheimer's,
like don't just start getting in the gym and like it's gonna go away.
Or people who take creatine, like say our age, are less likely to have it because you're providing your brain with like the supplements and nutrients that it needs and the hydration. So like to me, it's like it's this one tiny powder that you can take every day, and it will help keep you hydrated. It will help your mental health, and long term, it will help you just massively as well. So that's the only one I ever say to anyone, like, that's a must take creatine. But there's loads of other stuff, and I think for everything else, it all depends on you. So like greens are great. Obviously, the best thing to do
is eat vegetables.
So it's like that thing of like, if you do struggle to eat the vegetables or get them in as much, but you just want to make sure that you get it, greens can be great. But creatine is the only supplement that I know of where you could technically like eat more meat and get kind of the creatine off that. Like,
it won't be the same.
Yeah, it won't be the same. Like, it's the only one where, like, take this, and that's the only one. But everything else, I think, all supplements can be good and bad depending on what you need. Like, perfect example is, like, really, I don't know why, I really suffer with cramps whenever I train. I think I've just pushed myself too much, so I maybe overtrain the muscles a little bit. But whatever part of my body I train, I get, like, for the next, like, 12 hours afterwards, like, really bad cramps. So the thing which stops it for me is two things: magnesium, because
I was going to ask you about that,
which, like, tells the muscles to relax, and electrolytes. So I take them every morning without fail, so that I know that I'm not going to cramp during the day. But I don't recommend it to everyone because
depends if you're cramping.
Yeah. And that's the thing for me. Like, supplements should be like, oh, I've got this problem, let's look at this. The only one, as I say, for me is creatine. If anyone listen to it, if they start taking that, they're going to have more energy, they're going to feel better, they're going to be more hydrated. Like, everything's going to get better. There's no downsides from it.
I've heard the, like, creatine a bit more in the, I guess, like, popular culture of working out in the past, like, 6 months has been, because I used to take it when I was in high school more so, but that was because I just thought it was like, oh, it makes more water go to your muscles so you can look big. Like, I didn't really know of any, like, health. I've heard it's better with sleeping and stuff too. So
literally, it's like one of them. Every 6 months, another study will come out, and they'll be like,
yeah,
we've all
it's still good. And so I guess another thing too, because I am as much of a caffeine lover as anyone else, and I kind of go back and forth on. You hear some things like, okay, you shouldn't have any more caffeine after like 12 p.m. because you should give yourself 10 hours or whatever. But, like, are you taking pre-workout in the evenings before you work out? Like, are you just going in, and I guess your walk kind of helps you energize a little bit too?
See, but I don't. And that's just for the simple fact of, big one for me, when I was teaching, because I used to train so late, I used to train like 7:30 at night. If I took pre-workout then, I wouldn't get to sleep till later on, where I like to rest and rewind afterwards. Like, you should kind of stop any caffeine, they reckon, after 4 p.m. because it all has a half-life for like 4 hours, just to be safe. But a big one for me is, again, I think it's all about balance. Like, people hype stuff up. Like, caffeine isn't the end of the world, and there's nothing wrong with it and stuff like that. But if you are training later at night, it's definitely a good idea to, like, avoid it. And the only reason I really train on nothing now is when I started doing this full time. Now I train in the morning. I was like, oh, I might start having, like, an energy drink to boost me up and get me ready and stuff like that. And what I found was that I absolutely love the taste of, like, White Monsters. Like, that's now my favorite drink on.
So good.
I was drinking it too much. I was at a point where I was like I was getting one to the gym to, like, after I was like, this is really nice.
That's great.
And I think that's a big thing for yourself with everything. Like, not so much caffeine, but if you know someone where you're like, like, that's that. Like, sometimes it's about weighing it up, whether it's takeaways, whether it's energy drinks, and be like, because, like, there's nothing wrong with having an energy drink. But I know I feel so much better now.
Too delicious.
I know I feel so much better now than I did 2 years ago when I was having like 2 free energy drinks a day. I felt I'd wake up really, really tired. Where now, and that's the big thing with it for me. And it's the same with everything. Like, takeaways, we only get the odd one. Well, we did only get the odd one now and again. But, like, I just got to a point, I was like, do you know what? I don't think I've ever had a takeaway and enjoyed it. Like, it's always a bit like, oh, it's kind of all right, but
I kind of feel like,
And I was like, well, do you know what? Just not going to have one this year. So this year I haven't had one. And
like, you haven't eaten out one?
So we've eaten out, so we went out.
But not to get takeout. Okay,
we haven't had takeout. Yeah. And that was my rules, that if we want to go out, if we can't go out, let's actually go out, cost the same amount, and it's a better experience. Why don't we go and do that? And that's what we've done this year. And I think it's little rules which you start to add in for yourself, I think.
I like that. That's good.
big ones. Like with energy drinks, there is like, obviously, if you have everything in moderation, there's nothing wrong with them. There's no rings. But now, after I went, right, I need to knock them on the head for like a month or two, and then I'll start having them again. After those 2 months, I was like, why would I have them again?
Yeah, because I like that a lot, because it kind of comes down to your kind of self-imposed rule of like your 1 minute when you get home, like
Yeah.
the little like kind of life decisions. And it's easier when, because it's hilarious, because like my wife and I, when we're both working out, like we'll go for 2 months and we're in good routines, and the second one of us starts to drift, we're like, oh, maybe we'll both just like sit on the couch tonight, and you slowly start to like back away, and that's when everything goes. But I do think like you'll be surprised how much money you save when you're not just getting the odd takeout once a week.
Gotcha.
Especially because like if you're just saying like, you know what, like let's just go out. Even if we spend an extra $20 whatever on like maybe getting a drink with supper, whatever, like you're going on a date. It's not just we're nourishing ourselves with garbage because we're exhausted. That's a very different experience. But so one of the last things I want to talk to you, and I didn't actually think about this before, but I guess like how has your relationship with like alcohol or like view on alcohol changed since you kind of get into the fitness world? Because like I think like no more than 3-4 drinks a week, like total. Maybe you go out on a Friday, have like a couple with some of your buddies, but don't have 15. That's kind of my adult rule now, I guess. But like how much do you even really think about it with your clients? Like how much is that discussed?
Yeah, so again, it just depends. It varies from person.
Just don't be an animal.
Yeah, to me, it's all about, I think, especially when it comes to stuff like alcohol, it's all about like listening to yourself, and I think that's the big one for me. So like I'm a big one. Like I'm an Everton fan. I go watch them home and away, and I'll have a drink when we go and watch them. So like we went down to London yesterday. So it was like 4 hours there, 4 hours back, watching them, stuff like that. It'd be quite easy just to be like on it all day and be absolutely plastic by the time you get to the match, not remember any of it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to me, it's about that balance of like having a couple of pints, but at the same time, when I always make the rule with myself of when I get like a little bit tipsy, then I'll go on Diet Coke for a bit. Then when I'm like starting to sober up a little bit more, then I'll go back on it and like, come out where I'm just always in that. I would say I don't like being drunk, but I like being tipsy.
Yeah. Well, I joked with my sister-in-law. I was like, if I'm going to have one, I'm going to have 3, but I'm not going to have 5. Like, that's kind of my like self-imposed rule. It's like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it, but I'm not going to like absolutely hate myself. But, okay. So I got one more question for you, sir. And it's one that I ask a lot of especially once a teacher, always a teacher, I think, in my books. So if you had 1 minute with the whole world listening and you could change one thing about the education system, what would it be?
I think for me, my biggest one would be just getting rid of any marking.
Yeah.
Anything going in the books, I would get rid of. Every study shows it has no effect. And all it seems is that the ones at the top go, that means like we should double down. And I always remember that always sticks in my mind from a staff meeting, or like head principal, he was there, he was like, right, this is how we're going to do this. This is the new policy we're going to introduce. You've got to write 2 good things. You've got to write 1 thing that the child can improve on. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to do all this. And I always remember like our year 1 teacher, so like first grade, it'll be for you. She went, do I need to do this? And he was like, yeah, it's a school policy. Why wouldn't you need to do it? And she said, they can't read yet, so.
They can't read their feedback.
Yeah. And he was like,
it's a good point.
Yeah. And if she wouldn't have said that, she would have had to, like everyone else.
Yes.
And to me, that's the biggest one. I think, imagine taking all the marking away and just saying, right, okay, do you know what? The last hour of every day is just going to be, teacher gets the book, sits with the kids and goes, okay, like this and that, and has little chats, 5-10 minute chat a week.
Yeah, verbal feedback is so much more useful.
Yeah.
Like even in
it's safe.
Well, like I used to, again, maybe like a side tip, and maybe this isn't the best way, but I'm like, you know what? Why would you not use the time that your whole class is there to give feedback to your class? That doesn't even make sense. Like, why does there need to be this like lesson that has this question and this outcome? It's like, you know what? Today, like, I would kind of give like a review task.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, for essays, and I'm like, you know what? I'm here. You want to talk about your essay? We'll talk about it. Usually 90% of kids are okay with their mark. They're like, okay, that's kind of where I thought I would be. And maybe you have a couple things like I post exemplars of like what 100 was, an 80 or a 60, that kind of thing. But then you got your 6 or 7 students that they'll come and line up and talk to you. And you kind of take your hour and you have those conversations and you're building the connection and you're actually giving useful feedback. So that's something I thought was huge. And like, I think report cards to me 3 times a year is so unnecessary. AI is taking over most of it now anyways. I don't even see like the utility in it quite as much anymore. So just little things that I totally agree. Just kind of sandbag the teachers for no reason.
It's so much like I remember in maths when I was teaching 3 or 4 years in, I know it sounds stupid, but I just could not be bothered marking the maths books anymore. Before I sat down one weekend and was like, come on, like, got to be a way around this.
Yes.
So I sat all the kids down in my class and was like, right, the maths I'm about to give you, I am going to put the answers to it in the middle of it. I don't care how many you get right. You're not going to get a reward for getting every single one right. This is about us speeding up your learning. I said, once you've answered 10 questions, mark them. If you get them all right, skip the rest and go on to the harder ones. If you get 10 right, skip them, go on to the harder ones. Said, if you get between 5 and 10, like 5 and 9, do some more. Do another 10. If you get less than 5 right, come over to me. And I used to sit at my desk and they'd come over and go, and I'd explain it and they'd go back. And it was like visually giving them it that way. And then at the end, because we had to give them an extra task to do for like the next day, I just printed out a sheet with like 3 things on. One was an easier one for them to like, if they really got it wrong. One was a little bit of a push. One was like a real tough challenge. And then at the end, I'd just get them all to stick it in and I'd go round and I'd say, I'd just have a pen and I'd just circle the one that they needed to do, like the next time they were in.
Yep.
Of them 3. And we had a lesson observation in maths and I hadn't told anyone what I was doing. Oh, I'm going to be in so much trouble here. And
the secrets of behind the door.
And I remember them being like, why are they doing that? And I was like, they said, try to explain it, like, you know, I'm learning, they're doing this, they do that. I didn't want to just say, I didn't want to mark it.
Here are my acronyms.
We were like, oh, and then it ended up being like a school-wide policy. Like, even like, this is something that we'll all do. And it was just that idea of it, of like, I don't want to do it. And it was tougher with English and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because
there's ways
But there's definitely ways around it to just be like, I'm going to give you this input. You're going to do these tasks. I'm going to come around and check that no one's struggling. And then that's that for that lesson.
Well, you're working with active feedback. Like, why does feedback need to be this like weird thing I have to write when I get home? Like, it doesn't need to be one way. I don't know.
Plus, no,
I'm very much
afterwards. Like, have you ever done anything which then you're done with? Like, if you ever did anything and then you're done with it, and then a week later someone says, I've marked that for you. This is what you needed to improve.
Yeah.
Be like that when I don't know what
that was last week. I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I don't even know what I wrote.
In the moment, you're like, I can't figure this out. I keep getting it wrong. Can you show me how? Okay. That's how you do it. And that's my big one. It was longer than a minute. But
and like
the marking.
No, but for essay marking for me, I mean, a slate of essays would take me from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on a Saturday. And I'm like, I don't even feel like I actually did quality work. So I was just trying to get through so many of them. Like, that was just the story of my life for the first semester, to the point where I was like, you know what? Well, I was like, I'm going to mark 3.
Yeah.
And I would find the ones that would be like the 60, the 80, and the 100. I would adjust them and I would post them online and I'd be like, okay, read yours over, read this one, then come to me with questions. The amount of time that's like, I'd still read through everyone's stuff and give them a mark, but I'm not like painlessly writing the same comment 93 times on everyone's essay. Cause it's like, when you have that 5-minute conversation, cause then the kids will be like, oh, I got a 70. but I read this 100. Yeah, this is way better than mine. Like they kind of know, like, okay, this is where I can improve. I see what they did there. But anyway, Martin Malone, I guess final thing, what's your bench, bro?
What's the end? Well, what will it be? So it's 130 kg is what I lift. So
Okay. That's okay. That's like 275 to maybe close to 300. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so 286.
Okay.
So yeah,
Nice.
I'm aiming for like 330, 150 kg. That's what I want.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer in like not one rep max.
So no, that's just like my.
That's for 4. So I do mine. So which has worked really well with all my biggest ones. Is I like kind of almost warming up into it. So I will do 10 reps, 8 reps, 6 reps, 4 reps. So the 10 will be like a lighter weight, and then I'll put a little bit of weight on. And it's kind of one of them, if it goes up and it goes, then the next time it goes up and up and up. But with my bench, even though it used to, when I was going at like 7 p.m. at night to train, there's someone with me. Now I just train by myself because it's like middle of the morning.
Yes.
I'm not brave enough to put how much weight on until I know I can 100% do it. So
yes.
I'm comfortable on the 130, then I'll go to 130, 2.5.
That's good.
Keep building up with them. I love a good bench press.
No, I still have I can hit 225 for a few now. I back in the younger days, I could do it for quite a few more reps, but still that's like my what's the word I'm looking for? Like my bro rite of passage is I can still bench 2 plates. That's kind of my thing. But anyway, Martin Malone, this was an absolute pleasure, man.
Oh, no,
thank you so much for coming on.
Really enjoyed it.